But I cannot imagine like seeing something I don't like and then going out of my way to leave like a nasty comment. And so that's where I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, like I just can't even relate to you. And I'm like glad you don't want to be around.
Okay, welcome back everyone to another episode of Little Miss. For those of you who are new here, my name is Riley, and every week I pick a topic of conversation for the show designed to make you, the listener, feel as if you're in the room with a friend. Today I'm joined by Hannah and Nicole from the Holding It Together podcast, and our topic is going to be about small content creators, specifically podcasters like ourselves, and how and why we've chosen this content style to pursue, and specifically how we overcome the cringe since we're just starting out. Well, thanks for doing this with me. I'm so excited to talk to you both. I've been looking for a while for podcasts similar to mine because I think that's like a really good way to grow it is to have those connections. And I love your
Same.
guys's,
Yeah.
yeah, because the way that you talk to each other, it reminds me of the dynamic that I have or try to have with my roommates. You guys are so funny. You guys click really well. Are you sisters?
No. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. We met in high school.
Okay.
I actually moved into like Nicole's hometown junior year of high school from Alaska. My dad was in the army.
Okay.
Um should we go into like the whole background with
Well, I feel like our relationship definitely like weaned and ebbed and flowed. I think at first, like we met each other when we were like 16 and we like knew of each other, but we weren't really close friends. And then I feel like it really started between our relationships. We're still with our high school partners
Okay.
and they were friends initially. And so we were grouped together a lot in just hangouts, like whatever. And I think we really connected there. We also like worked together and like I feel like our relationship built very slowly,
Okay.
but by 2022 we were talking about doing a podcast together and
it was like junior year we knew of each other, but we like didn't ever really meet. And there was kind of some confusion because I thought that like I was stepping on Nicole's toes about a boy, and then she thought she was stepping on
Oh,
my
okay.
toes about a boy. We actually like our first episode goes into that. We both thought we were going to prom with this guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then senior year we both signed up for AP physics because everybody was like, girls can't do that. And both of us were like, okay, well, just because you said that, we're going to do it. Not that we like had
Exactly.
any interest in it. So, I mean, it was interesting, but
I became an engineer.
no, but you're always like, I totally did that to stick it to the man.
Yeah.
No, it was interesting, but it was also like, well, if boys can do it, like how hard could it be? So
Yeah.
we were two of three girls in the class. And so that's when we like really became friends.
Okay.
And then we both started dating our like current fiancés at the end of senior year and they were friends.
Okay.
Um, we
How
worked
old are you
together.
guys?
We're 26.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
How old are you?
27. So,
Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We worked together like the summer after high school, and then I moved away after college or for college. Nicole stayed in Buffalo.
Okay.
And then after college, I moved to Tennessee for 10 months. So like throughout college and like when I was away, we really like we lost touch. Like we didn't speak for like 3 or 4 years, didn't really see each other
Really?
anymore. Yeah. Not like for any reason. It was
Yeah,
just like
yeah. It's just
different places in life. And anyway, I moved back here in 2022 and we started hanging out because Nicole and her fiance Nick were on a volleyball team that Matt was on.
okay.
And so I started coming around and then yeah, we kind of like rekindled our friendship from there.
Yeah. And I think initially when we started the podcast, I I knew I didn't want to be like famous, but I wanted to be like in the social media world because
Okay.
there's just so many big opportunities that like the space feels like endless, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't gonna be famous for my look, so why don't try personality?
Which is crazy. You're so pretty.
And that is why I was like, all right, but I feel like the thing with looks is they are very one subjective and two they come and go.
Right.
So I didn't want to be like boxed in with like you know what I mean? And and
Yeah,
now I
yeah.
understand like through others' social media and vlogs and things like that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but I think the initial start of social media it was very much aesthetics based. And
Right.
so
Yes.
that's where like my fear went of being either like over um
I mean, that can draw people in, but you have to have a personality to keep them. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and like actually I feel like the night that we like really became friends, like I came over to Nicole's house. It was supposed to be like a girls' night and the other people bailed. So then it was just us. And we sat her on her couch and talked for like 6 hours straight. And she brought up like, oh, I've always really wanted to do a podcast. Like I think it would be such an interesting thing. And I've always
Uh-huh.
had similar interests as well of like wanting to start like a YouTube channel or something like that. Like I am really into making videos.
Okay.
Um, and so, yeah, we kind of like reconnected over that. And I feel like the podcast has what has been like the catalyst for like really becoming close friends, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
like when you have to like sit down for an hour every week and talk about your week or topics or things, you just
Yeah.
get closer. I don't, that's just how
Yeah.
it is. So I really appreciate that. I feel like that is like a big driving
Yeah.
factor that made us so close and
That's cool.
able to have these fun conversations.
So that
Um,
was a really long-winded way of saying, no, we're not sisters, we're friends.
but I literally, that whole story, I was like, wait, they didn't talk? Like, how does that? Yeah.
I know. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
Like I was convinced, anxiety is something that I like struggle with for like a long time. And
Okay.
so when we worked together over the summer, I had like so many car problems. And so Nicole and I used to switch off like days that we would drive each other to work. We would carpool because like we lived on the same town, so why not carpool?
Yeah.
Um, and I was having so many car problems with like I had this like $1,000 piece of junk Jeep that like I would not drive out of the town because I wouldn't get on the highway with it because it would just stall. Like it would just be like, nope, I'm done. And then we had this like really old minivan that was having problems. And so Nicole ended up like driving us to work more often than I did. And in my head, I decided I was like, yeah, she definitely hates me because she had to drive more often. And then I just like I like let myself think like, oh, anyway, I created a situation that didn't exist in my head. And so
Been there.
I was like stopped reaching out and it just kind of like fizzled.
I love that you guys reconnected, and I love that your story is interesting because it really is. Hannah, you liked making YouTube videos, and Nicole, you kind of wanted to be somewhere on the social media scene because of the opportunities. And I do agree with that, that it kind of feels like, oh, there's all these things I could be doing. And the podcast was kind of like a middle ground.
So I actually never made any videos. It was just something that I was always really, really interested in. And
Okay.
I loved watching YouTubers. Like I used to watch did you ever watch O2L?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like
Oh, I know exactly what you're
obsessed.
talking
Yes, obsessed with like the early YouTube like vlog groups and vloggers and all of this stuff. And I was really interested in TikTok. I actually started college to be a film major because I did this like film class in high school once and I just loved it. But I was always like too afraid. I had the want, but I was too scared of like, I guess like the perception to ever actually do it.
about.
So it was kind of like we had similar interests in the sense of like wanting to create things and wanting to put things out there, but neither of us had actually ever done it before.
Okay. Okay. No, that makes sense. How long? That was 2022. Is that how long you've had the podcast?
Well, I guess we I'm like kind of we actually recorded a couple episodes in the beginning of 2023, like January. And unfortunately, those will never see the light of day because they were too, other than the word cringy, I don't know how to put it, like just
Yeah.
too, we were, they were, they were so awkward. They were so
Okay.
awkward. And so we shelved it for a really long time.
Like 8 months. Yeah, I think we had like kind of reconnected and talk about this like around like Thanksgiving-ish time 2022. And then we actually started doing it in January. But yeah, those were like we could just feel that it wasn't working. Like something about the
Okay.
episodes, even like in recording them, we were like, what is going on?
It was just so stiff and so unnatural. And
Okay.
we wanted to cultivate this podcast that could be like friends talking to each other or
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
these conversations. And I think we were almost too scripted
Okay.
where we didn't know what we wanted to share yet. We didn't know who we wanted to be. We didn't know our place or our niche or anything. So I think we felt how do I put this? I think we felt lost, and it was really obvious in the
Okay.
first couple episodes. And then after that, it wasn't until like August of that year where we were like, let's pick up a mic again. Let's try this again. Let's try to be more natural. And that is what ended up being our first episode out. It happened in September, I think. But it was a learning curve to learn all
Yeah,
of that. And we're like doing it for 2.5 years now. So
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah,
There's this question that I want to ask you guys. Did you ever feel exposed during a podcast episode? Is that uh, were those first three episodes kind of an example of that, or were they just cringy?
They were just cringy. I
Okay.
didn't feel exposed. The thing is, when we sit down to record, like I feel like I'm just talking to Nicole, and I think that's what makes it work so well. So like in the moment, I'm like, yeah, I'll just spill my guts. Like when I'm talking when
Yeah.
we're recording, I don't feel exposed at all. But then sometimes stop hitting record, and if I don't completely black out what I said, which is like 9 out of 10 times,
Yeah.
sometimes there's like the one thing where you're like, do I want to share that? And I don't know. It's we definitely like over time have kind of figured out like where we ride the balance of like sharing enough to be able to connect with people because I think that you have to be vulnerable to like build an audience. And that's the kind of things that I love to listen to. So that's like what I want to put out there.
Hmm.
But I also don't want to share so much that it's like harmful to me, you know?
I've definitely have had times where we posted an episode and I'm like, I will never, that story will be out there forever. And like, I want to bring it up again, but that's just shedding more light onto it. It's still on our thing. Okay, fine. Twist my arm. um, one time I pooped my pants and I did tell the story. Like, I did tell the story on the podcast. Now, would I tell that story again? Like this today if it happened today? No, like it would be kept in the vault. But at the time I was like, it's so funny, it's so relatable, and it haunts me. Like that is something that haunts me. Like other than that, there has been like a few times where I've actually had to, once the episode was published, had to go in and take out a part where maybe it just didn't align with my beliefs anymore, or I got more context, so I didn't even
Yeah.
think. So sometimes I'll have to do that, but that's rare. We're
Hmm.
usually just trying to have a girly fun time. And sometimes there is TMI episodes. Sometimes there is like hard truths or being super
Hmm.
vulnerable. And I think that's the beauty of like friendship and podcasting and being so exposed. I do think that there is a line to be balanced where like Hannah was saying, or it could be harmful for you. And that's just not something that like I want, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have run into this too, but I've noticed that the episodes that I did kind of share more than I normally do, it's kind of like it gets frozen in time. And so when the listener goes back and listens to it, they're like, oh, she's so upset. Like for them, that just happened. And I'll get messages from like an episode from like a year or two ago. And I'm like, oh, I don't even think about that anymore. Like
Hmm.
they're hearing it for the first time and I've forgotten about it at this point. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That's been kind of weird to navigate too.
Yeah. We actually just recorded an episode that's going up. Is it going up on Monday? Yeah. We did this episode. It was like one of our earlier episodes about like our thoughts on becoming mothers. And that's such a like vulnerable topic and it's so like nuanced and sensitive for people. And so I think that's the episode that we definitely like received the most feedback on. And that's the one that like I kind of struggle with because there were some like thoughts that I shared that people really didn't agree with and others that I
Hmm.
was like, it is very personal. It was actually really funny. Like at the time, my now fiance and I, we had kind of just gotten back together after I moved back from Tennessee. And
Okay.
so you can tell in the episode that I'm dancing around, like referring to him being like the father of like future children because I didn't want to
Okay.
make him feel uncomfortable. But it's just really, anyway. But I do think it's interesting to be able to like look back and see how you've changed. We just actually recorded like an updated that was 2 years ago, an updated like
Hmm.
thoughts and reflecting on that episode and how it changed and that kind of thing. But yeah, it definitely is. Like sometimes I really can't decide. I'm like, okay, I have to really think about like, am I just nervous about it? Is it too vulnerable or is it like just vulnerable in general, and like that can be hard to share, but it's
Mhm.
important. Or yeah.
So how do you like balance that
Mm.
line between being too vulnerable? I know there a couple weeks ago or last week, I don't know when this is coming out, but you shared something really vulnerable and that episode was amazing and impactful. How do you, and I just want to say, I also thought you balance the line of respecting the relationship and that time in your life without, like, it wasn't a tell all, like you said, it wasn't whatever. And I just
Mhm.
thought it was really artfully done and it was a beautiful episode. But how do you like respect that aspect of your
Yeah.
life and still make a connection and have these like moments like it's almost like we're documenting our life while we're doing this
Yeah.
in these
No, that's
moments.
I like how you said documenting it. Thanks for listening to that episode, by the way. I was all weekend because I just posted that today as I'm talking to the
Mhm.
girls. And all weekend I've been texting my roommates and being like, oh, I don't even know if I should put this up. Or like, I don't know if I had a clip, I was crying. And for people that don't know, this episode's about my breakup that happened last week. But I had this clip for social media and just for the podcast account. And I was texting my roommates and like, well, I don't know if I should share this to my main because like this is so this episode was hard for me to put up. I don't want people to think it's stupid that I'm crying. And, there's all these like X, Y, and Z of stuff that
Mhm.
I thought about putting up that episode. And when I did decide to share that clip to my main account, I had people text me and they were like, "Oh, I can't believe like you're gonna tell us everything. Like this is gonna be a tell-all. Like I can't wait to hear about all the stuff that he did." And it was tricky for me recording that episode of feeling like I want to be able to share my experience, but I don't want it to feel like what's the word? I can't think of it. I don't want it to feel like I'm doing nothing but saying bad things about him.
Mhm.
So yeah, thank you for saying that because that was actually really tough. And I kind of just leaned on or like tried to lean on the side of, is it honest without like bringing up his name? Then I'm going to
Mhm.
talk about it. Or with like, there's also like moments in relationships where even after you break up on terrible terms, like that was a moment that you shared together and that's information he gave me in confidence that I'm obviously not going to talk about.
Mhm.
But other than that, it's free reign, frankly. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So how did you get over going back and forth between uploading that video to your main? Like essentially embracing the cringe and like maybe this is
Yeah.
because in my head I'm thinking, okay, I have the same thing where sometimes I don't repost things that I post on the podcast because the podcast feels
Yeah.
more of a safe space for me, whereas like my Instagram is more of a like a shelled version. Like
Hmm.
it's and sorry. There's a lot going on. But I think it's also important because the podcast and your regular Instagram are the same person.
Hmm.
Like they're the same
Yeah.
being. So why do we feel like, okay, should I post this on my main or should I keep it on the
Mhm.
podcast? Like, why do we have these feelings of that? They're the same person.
They are the same person. And I think I finally just kind of clicked of like, well, it's funny when you're making content, there's always that part of you that's like, well, I hope this gets clicks. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where my head went to, where I was like, if I'm gonna do this episode, I'm gonna have this episode up, I might as well have people listen to it and I might as well commit to it.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I shared it to my main. Um, I think that was kind of like the driving force behind it because honestly, like I still struggle with feeling like I don't want that version of social media to see that, even though you're 100% correct that it is the same person.
I think actually this is something I struggle with too. I like never really share the podcast on my main account. I haven't posted on my main account in 3 years, four
Hmm.
years.
That's a
Yeah,
long
it's been
time.
4 years now. So, and I think I just realized like sometimes I feel safer saying stuff on the podcast or putting stuff on the podcasts like Instagram or TikTok because that audience feels more like personal and like safe. Whereas like my main Instagram is people that I met once. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's a
Yeah.
they're not necessarily there for me. It was kind of just like maybe we met in passing, maybe we are in the same class together. I don't like maybe I don't even know some people on there anymore. And like people see them and I'm like, I know that I knew you, but I don't know from where or who you are anymore. And so
Hmm.
I think it's like I don't know. like the people on your podcast know you and are more like deeply, I guess, and they're there to hear what you have to say. Whereas like, yeah, I just feel like it could be maybe to me, like I get really scared of judgment from my
Yes.
personal page.
Yeah.
And I still really struggle with that where like I still have the desire to like create videos or even like I have a hard time even like promoting the podcast sometimes because I'm so scared of the judgment, but I'm also I don't know, it's such an interesting like conflicting feeling
Hmm.
because I think we've done a really good job of like building an audience that like feels like friends and but it's still scary to like put yourself out there and to try and push the podcast and gather more of those people. Like obviously that's what we both want, but it's also terrifying because like in order to do that you kind of have to there's going to be people who like come across it and don't like it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's a great way to put it because my Instagram, my personal account, is full of like, and it shouldn't be, but sometimes I'll go through my following. I'm like, I don't even like that person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew them in high school, and for some reason they're still on here, but I know they don't like me either. And so I feel like you described that perfectly. Where I don't know if I want to share that to my main account because those people don't always have my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And on the podcast, it's like, oh, on the page, it's like, well, these people want to be here. That's why they followed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. So have you received any hate comments or hate on your podcast?
No, not really. I've gotten like a couple weird comments, and I had one episode that like ruffled a lot of feathers, but for the most part, people like it. It's been like the amount of positive comments versus negative is definitely very different, but somehow
Yes.
I still think about the negative comments.
Totally agreed. Totally
Yeah.
agreed. But they're so we post on TikTok as well. And I feel like that's where we get more characters, more people,
Yeah.
and more exposure, I'll say. And we've had a few times where I'm not even gonna say they went viral because they didn't. It's like it hit like 1,000 views or something. And people just start saying their opinions and like some of them hurt my feelings.
I,
And it makes me think like, is this worth it? Because I know I don't have like the thickest of skins, and I know
mhm.
being a personality on social media, if that's my goal, if that's what I want to do, it comes with the job. So I was like, it really does make me reflect a lot on, do I want to continue doing this? Do I want to keep being so vulnerable? I think an hour conversation every week is vulnerable regardless.
Mhm.
It's really candid, it's really honest, it's raw. And I go back and forth between like, is posting worth it? And
Yeah.
I mean, right now it is because that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there a moment like you remember specifically of like, I don't know if this is worth it? Or is it just kind of like comments in general?
It can just be comments in general. I feel like it like comes and goes. You want to say?
Yeah, I have a specific moment. I was driving home. I was on this really long road trip with my fiance, and we were driving home, and I was checking TikTok because I just wasn't on it for the week. And I got a bunch of comments on one of my videos being like, everyone has a mic these days, and um people should sell Amazon mics for more expensive because everyone has a podcast. And one person that I knew in my life, which I was like, why would you comment this? Like, I know you, or I knew of you. We went to high school together. He said something like, which really hurt my feelings, was like, oh boy, like I'm scared for Nick, which is my fiance.
uh,
And like that just like really stuck with me. Like a lot of the other comments of like everyone has a mic and like whatever, like I was volleying back like comments just being like, Amazon babe, like good deals or whatever or something, like Prime
yeah,
Day or
yeah.
something like really dumb. But like that one, like I had like no response, like shut me down immediately. I was like, I know this person, like he knows my fiance, like he had and I mean, I don't think I offended. Like I wasn't being offensive or anything. I think I said that video games get demonized more than they need to. Like that
Hmm.
was like it was so random. And so by him saying that, I was just like immediately shut down. Immediately was like texting Hannah. Could not stop thinking about it for like days. I had like 8 hours in
Hmm.
the car to marinate on that. He's like, "Why are you so quiet?" I'm like, "I don't know, I'm just tired." Like it was, and I was actively like while it was happening, I was telling myself okay, like you shouldn't let these things affect you. Like this is just a speed bump or this is just a point of learning.
Mhm.
So, I literally could not stop like the spiral of it. And I felt like, okay, like this, it was over the summer actually. And I was like, that was the moment where I was like, is it worth it? Like that was the closest I got to just like quitting. But
Okay.
like, why would I let that boy win? Like, why would I care what that slimy little dog thought of me? Like, I don't like actually, so.
Yeah, yeah. There's always like two wolves, and one is like this person's opinion is gonna devastate me and make me cry, and there's like, why would I ever let that little boy bother me? Yeah, and it's like, oh, I
I
don't know which wolf
know.
to like feed today.
Well, and it's also like we're just biologically created to want to fit in and like be
Yeah.
accepted. And so like I think in any part of your life, like getting feedback or comments like that is hard because it feels like rejection.
Hmm.
And so it is hard to like come over the initial like emotional reaction, which I think is totally normal.
That that was a great example, and that's so me, by the way. I would absolutely do that. Like, think about that for days. But I think there's two questions left on mine. But do you go back and listen to old episodes?
No.
Yeah,
I
same.
the first time I ever have was to re-record like this updated motherhood episode because I was like I have to I mean I know some things that I said but I have to know the rest of the conversation and so it's like fresh in my mind. Yeah, I won't make that a hobby. Not that I'm like not that it was bad, not that I like said anything bad. It's just kind of weird. I don't know. Like I'm like I personally once we hit like stop recording, blackout. Like I don't know what I said. I
Hmm.
don't want to know what I said. I don't care. Like, not that I don't care. I just am like, that's not my
Yeah,
business. You know what I mean? Like, I said it
yeah.
and I'm moving on. I don't know. I guess I never really have the desire to go back and listen. Like, I feel like maybe I would be interested in like, I don't like, let's say like 10 years down the line when I'm like so far removed that it would be interesting to see what I was doing and what I was thinking and how I was feeling like back when I was this age. But I think right now I'm not too different of a person where like it's just not interesting to me to hear what I said
Okay.
before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a little behind the scenes, Hannah and I like switch off editing every other. And so
Okay.
sometimes I'll listen to Hannah's edit and make sure like everything is like what I said was acceptable. Like just I don't know how to like just make sure it's all good. And I'll listen back in that sense, but as for listening like to once it's posted like last year's episode like I'm shaking in my boots. Like I can't even
Uh,
like I think about our first episode and part of me wants to listen to it just to like take it down like just to like have a reason to take it down, you know what I mean? Be like this was just not it. But I have not gotten around to do that.
I feel like if it's something that's like overly vulnerable, like you feel it right away. And
mhm.
at least personally, like if I've ever said anything that I'm like, that's too much, like I know it right away. And we take it up before we edit it. But I think if I made a habit of going back and listening to old episodes, like I would find something with every episode where I'm like, take it down. Like I don't want it to be up there anymore. Like
Yeah.
it's too vulnerable. Where like in the moment I know that was fine. And like I got over the like vulnerability hangover or whatever it was and like have moved on from it. But if I always went back and listened, like I would find something wrong with every episode when
Yeah.
there's really nothing wrong with it. And I would just be in a
Yeah.
constant state of like anxiety and yeah.
Yeah.
Just more than usual. Do you go back and listen?
No, I hate going back and listening. And I actually just recently did too, because we did like ins and outs for 2026. So we
Mm-hmm.
were back and listening to like 2024 or something because we did that before. And I actually listened to that episode and I was like, oh, we are funny. Like that one was a positive. But generally when I listen back, I'm like, someone cut her mic. Like she's so annoying. Like she's so annoying. You have to stop. And so I just kind of was like, yeah, I can't do that. It's not for me.
I like start agreeing with the comments. I'm like, mics are too
Yeah.
inexpensive. Everyone has a podcast these days, literally talking to myself. So yeah.
We're our worst critics too.
Yes.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's not my business. Like I don't yeah.
Yeah. It's none of my business. Um, yeah, and I always tell myself that the people that leave comments like that or the people that listen to your episodes and don't like it, they never started, they don't have an episode 1 to start with, you know, like they never did this, they never got their foot even in the water or got their toe in the
Right.
water,
And
whatever it is, you know.
yeah, and I'm not like, I know people are gonna listen and not like it. I listen to podcasts and I don't like them, but which is totally fine. And I'm like, I'm okay with that. But I cannot imagine like seeing something I don't like and then going out of my way to leave like a nasty comment. And so that's where I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, like I just can't even relate to you. And I'm like glad you don't want to be around. Like it's
Yeah.
I literally like will never understand the mentality of seeing something you don't like and not just moving on. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Like it's just so weird to me. So I'm like, why would I? That's how I like try to rationalize it. It's like, why would I let that bother me? Because that's so weird. Like it's just weird.
It is a weird thing to do. Yeah, you'll notice that no one I like in person ever does that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how has your perspective changed on what you post and what you keep private? I think you talked about that a little bit, but has it changed over the years?
Yeah, I definitely have had some like goals that I have shared before. This really has come up to me in like New Year's episodes where I will share certain goals. And I've realized that there's some things, especially when it comes to like really personal goals, like maybe around like, I don't know, like fitness or that kind of thing, where like there are some things that like it's hard to share that publicly and then you don't meet it. And then it's like, well, now everyone can see. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
I've realized like there's some things that I'm like, okay, like maybe this is a goal or a thought I have for myself, but like putting that out, I don't want people's input on it. So I really think about sometimes like, would I be okay with like having someone's input on this? Or is this really just something that I should keep for like myself and my friends, or maybe just myself? You know, that's so I feel like that's how I've changed and like realized things. But other than that, like I'd say, I don't know. I feel like in some ways I share more than I used to, but I feel like it's always changing and you just kind of like learn over time where
Mm,
you really have to like sometimes you because I do try to make it a point to be vulnerable because I think that is important. But then sometimes you just don't know until you do it and you're like, okay, this is like you don't realize it until months later or maybe a year later. They're like,
yeah.
okay, like this is something I don't want to share anymore.
Yeah, and sometimes I get nervous sharing my opinions on things because what if they change? Like, what if I don't feel this way in 6, 8 months, 10, a year, whatever? And I don't like what you were saying in the very beginning is sometimes people take it as you are now. Like maybe I posted the episode 2 years ago and they think this is who I am now and these are my core beliefs. And maybe they've shifted a little. Maybe they've changed. Maybe my opinions have changed. Or we just spoke about how I would always say, I'm just a girl. Like, I'm just a girl. And right now in my life, I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't know if I want to use that for everything because it puts down women. Like, I'm just in these are conversations that I'm having now. Whereas in a few months ago, like I was saying those things. So just like Hannah, I want to make a present to be vulnerable. And even if my opinions do change, like, say some of them, like it's totally fine. It's subjective. Um, have you been following like the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni case, even loosely?
Yes, but not recently. I was really
Yeah.
looking into it like a few months ago.
I feel like the last year and whenever it started, my opinions were like flipping every other week. Like
Yes.
I
Yeah.
was Team Blake, Team Justin, Team Blake, Team like it would just kept going. And honestly, I ended up stopped talking about it because I was like, girl, you don't even know what side you're on. Like no one, I don't know the facts. Like I don't know anything. And so it was just like a good reminder to maybe speak and have less opinions on things that I am not uneducated in. Do you know?
Yes. No, I think that was a great way to describe it too.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Because you've been doing your podcast for a couple years as well, right? So
Yeah.
do you feel like there's like ways that you've changed and like in terms of what you do and don't share anymore?
I think interestingly enough, I up until the episode I posted today, I really didn't talk that much about my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about it a little, but there was definitely a lot of things going on in the last 2 years that did not get mentioned. I don't think I've
Mm-hmm.
been as vulnerable as maybe people think I have. Um, so I think it's because the format is I'm generally asking people the questions, and
Mhm.
it's difficult to find guests that ask the questions back. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like, well, how did this affect you? And then we kind of keep moving. Um, but I think when it comes to like finding that balance between posting and not, yeah, so I feel like I've gotten more vulnerable on the podcast versus less. And
Mhm.
I'm kind of interested to see where I go with that. And the reason I chose to maybe share more of myself is because I think, Hannah, you said that like those episodes matter to you a lot. Like when you wanted to be vulnerable because you like that content in other people. And that's kind of like where I've started going with it when it comes to talking more about myself, is because like the podcasters I love do the same thing. Like I
Yeah.
know everyone loves Brittany Broski, and so there's like clips
I
on
was literally
TikTok.
just thinking of Brittany Broski. Yeah.
Yes, like some of her clips on TikTok talking about women, like they'll make me cry. And I was like, I want to have an episode like that.
Yes. No, I totally agree because I'm like, sometimes you're drawn into someone's podcast and I listen to a couple episodes, but I'm like, okay, I don't feel like I know, like, this is just boring. Like, I could read an art. It's like reading an article. Like, I want to
Yes,
know you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a big thing that draws me in, at least, is like I want to know them. And Hannah and I, we went to New York City this fall or last fall to see these podcasters. And at first I was like so excited. And then I was like, okay, girl, you need to touch grass and like realize like you don't know these
Mhm.
people. Like it's like one sided. That being said, like that, but that's the kind of content like I gravitate towards. And so your episode of like your breakup, like I was so like sad. Like I was so like
Mhm.
listening to it and I loved it. I think that was one of my favorite episodes you've put out and I've listened to like a bunch now cuz I like your podcast. And like that was my favorite one cuz I got to learn so much about you and I got to like
Yeah,
know you and it does make me more invested in your life and your podcast and things that you
yeah.
like. Like I want to know like what's your favorite movie, you know? What are you
Yeah,
watching on the weekends?
yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
by the way. That's super nice.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Because I feel like, especially too, like, I'm so interested how I feel like I really struggle with episodes with guests because it can just be a lot to handle and it's always a new dynamic. So I'm really impressed you've been able to do that format for the last 2 years. But I also
Mhm.
think too, like sometimes I struggle with podcasts that have a lot of guests because it's a you're meeting someone new every week and like you never really get to connect. But I think you do a good job of like, I can connect with your guests, but I also get to know a little bit about you. And I think that's why it does so well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I How many listeners, or like, do you feel like most of your listeners are people that you know in real life, or do you feel like you've gained enough that people really want to know you from the podcast?
It's interesting. I do feel like probably a little over half are people that we know. Maybe not necessarily closely. Like there's actually, I know of some girls that we, knew in high school. We weren't super close. Like there's some girls that I like did cross country with. There's some girls that I like maybe spoke to 3 or 4 times, but they follow the podcast. So I think that's really interesting. But yeah, I'd say majority people that we know. Would you agree?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. What about for you?
Yeah, I feel like it's the majority of the people that I know.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's also hard for me because I would rather it be complete strangers.
No, tell me why my dad calls me and he's like, which thank you for the support, dad, but like not my demographic. He calls me and he's like, I said something like, our families. I said our family was. Yeah, no, I said like our family's being broken because my brother was moving, like my cousins were moving. We had a very nuclear family here. My dad calls me, he goes, so our family's broken, huh? And like no context, no nothing. I'm like, and so like, yeah, like, I'm not a professional yet. Like I do say words wrong. Like I do lose my train of thought. I do say like or whatever. But it's weird knowing that some people listen to it and some people come up to me and they'll start discussing topics on the podcast like cold. And I'm like, okay, we're jumping into this like because they know my thoughts, but like I don't know their thoughts. So sometimes it
Yes,
gets a little
yes,
bit like I'm like trying to catch up almost.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's interesting. We're like, I totally agree to the thing of like sometimes it almost feels nicer or like you'd like, oh, I wish it was just strangers because sometimes like friends and family will come up and say they listen and I'm like, That's scary.
Yes.
Like, that's horrifying to me. Like,
Yes.
so glad they do. But yeah, thanks for the support, but also don't let me know.
Yes. Exactly. I remember because my sister's on the podcast all the time, and we were doing this episode on our younger self or something. That's what we were talking about. And my
Mhm.
sister always jokes that she would like kill herself with a gun if she saw herself at 12. And I like it is a funny joke, but my mom was like, I just really wish you wouldn't talk about yourself like that. Like when she listens to it as a mom,
Yes.
and again, I love the support. I hope my mom keeps listening. But there is like a part where it's like, oh, I feel like this episode was for strangers, you know?
Yeah. This has been really fun. I'm like actually I was actually so scared to do this. I'm not gonna lie. Like I
Really?
wanted to text Nicole and be like, can we bail? Like I'm so not actually, but like
Yeah, yeah. No, I
it
get
was
it.
just scary. Like we've never done it. It was scary, but I'm really glad we did. I think this is like gonna be one of my favorite episodes because it's just different.
Yes.
And we've
Yeah.
never talked to someone else that has a podcast like on the same like level. Like we talked to like JC and Chelsea, but there's like such a different like ball
Yeah.
game, and it was also like literally 4 minutes long. So this has been really cool to like hear your perspectives and yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you guys explained things so well that the things that you explained, I'm like, oh, that's exactly how I feel. And no one's quite been able to say that yet. So yeah,
Yeah.
this was super fun.
Yeah, I do think we have a little bit of an advantage being a duo where we can, oh, are you feeling the same way about this? Are you feeling the same way?
Hmm.
You know, but it's so nice to have that outside perspective. You know, we're going through it, we're doing the grind together. It's
Yes.
and you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world. It's so much fun. Thank you so much for having us on, Riley. It was
Yeah.
a blast.